Please welcome to the stage President of TA Grimm Associates, Todd Grimm.
So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Rapid Plus TCT 2025. I simply ask, are you ready for 3 days of exploration into additive manufacturing applications and all the tools that make that possible? I sense a little bit of pent-up energy in the room, so let's see if we can release that and really get you started. So, not a rhetorical question. Please give me a loud yes if you agree. Are you ready? That sounded like you were ready. I'm ready also, and I'm quite excited. I've been attending Rapid Plus TCT since 1995 and have not missed a single event. Most of those years, I served as an event advisor, which I currently do, and that's the role in which I'm speaking from in being asked to do this first 15-minute presentation. SME, the people behind Rapid Plus TCT, have asked me to play tour guide, to give you some insights into what's going on to help you plan your day, because quite simply, there is too much to do every single day for you to be able to do everything. So I'm going to do my best to draw some highlights that you can jot down and say, I must see or I must do. And I'm going to do that in two buckets. The program itself, and then what's on the exhibition floor. Geez, tongue-tied already this morning. Now tomorrow and Thursday, I'll also do the same thing at 8:15 each morning, and that'll be extracting what I discovered on the show floor to bring it to your attention for you to evaluate if it's something that you want to see. So let's get rolling with the program highlights, and in that I've got to start with, please bring up the slide, the app, SME Plus. If you have not installed that on your phone or other devices, please do so because it has everything about the event in it. Every presentation, every event, every activity, and the different zones within the show floor. So please download that. You can scan the QR code right now up on the screen, or I'm sure it's available throughout the floor. Download it and install it. I'm told that on the left-hand side are all the key things that you're probably, of the homepage of it, that you're probably going to use most frequently. The right-hand side is also valuable information, but probably used less frequently, with one exception. For the main stage and for the SME theater, right-hand side, at the bottom, please pull up this slide, there's a button, a tile for live interaction. You will use live interaction to submit your questions versus speaking from the floor, which will be fed to the presenter for them to address. All right, so with that admin item out of the way, we have a busy day today with a lot of activity and throughout the week. For the first time ever, we are co-locating with 3 other events. That's SAE's WCX, America Makes TRX, and then also SME's AeroDef. So a lot of different interests running throughout the halls of Huntington Place. Most of those you can attend no matter what your badge says. So if you're AeroDef, you can attend Rapid stuff. If you're Rapid, you can attend WCX information with two exceptions. WCX, Hall D, their expo floor is open to you. However, the presentations, the conference is a paid program. So if you haven't paid, you won't be able to attend those. And the other one you won't be able to do is attend the annual spring TRX meeting from America Makes because it was pre-registration and they've already filled their roles, they filled the room to capacity. Up here on the main stage, kicking off each day and then kicking off after the lunch hour, we have 5 executive perspective panels, starting with today at 8:30, which is Additive Manufacturing Impact, a view from the C-suite. And then also this afternoon at 1 o'clock is Real-World Applications for Additive Manufacturing. There will be 2 more on Wednesday and 1 more on Thursday. We also have in the SME Theater industry partner presentations, partners of the event, which include AM Green Trade Association, ASTM International, Project Diamond, the Technical Community Advisors, and also Women in 3D Printing. On the show floor, along with all of the exhibits, we have different zones. America Makes has their own pavilion with their members having booths and also presentations. We've got the Discovery Zone, which is where you will find the startups, the small companies that are just coming to our front door to offer us solutions, where you can discover what innovative ideas they have. We've got the Tech Hub, which is where the exhibitors have the opportunity to take the stage and present what their solution is and describe it to you and answer questions on it, and many other activities. Now today, we're going to end with the social networking hour and a half on the expo floor. By the way, the expo is open from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock, so from 3:30 to 5 o'clock, we will have food and refreshments on the show floor, designed so that you can network and meet people in a social environment, but at the same time, keep speaking with people in the booth. So not disrupting your flow to find those solutions. There are many other highlights of the program. I just want to draw those out. So refer to the app to find what else is on tap for today. Now I'm going to skip into the exhibitor side of things and what highlights I know of. Today, I can only work off information that was made available to us in advance. Tomorrow and Thursday, I'll be working from the show floor. I'm going to start with two new processes, two unique processes, one from Rapid Liquid Print and the other from Manifest Technologies. Rapid Liquid Print has been using their technology called gravity-free manufacturing as a service for a number of years. It is now announcing or unveiling the Levity machine, which is the physical interpretation of that process that you can own. Gravity-free manufacturing doesn't mean that they've gone anti-gravity. What they are doing is using a suspension gel and then depositing high-grade silicones within that gel to eliminate support structures and to improve the process, making large parts. I don't know the full extent. I usually think of silicones in additive manufacturing as being little small parts. They're making big parts. I think last year I saw a part maybe 1.5 meters long. So big parts with a focus on gaskets, prosthetics, inflatables, other things that need that flexible silicone material. Manifest Technologies is doing volumetric additive manufacturing. What they're unveiling is Parallax volumetric additive manufacturing, or PVAM as an abbreviation. It is curing photopolymer resins in one shot. It is curing, it is solidifying, it is manufacturing the component in 3 dimensions at one time. So no layers, minimize supports or eliminate supports. They're claiming that it is a faster process since you're doing so much at one time, and also that it opens the door to geometries that were previously impossible for other additive manufacturing technologies. They just announced, I think it was yesterday, a collaboration or work with Advanced Printed Electronic Solutions, or APES for short, where they're incorporating their volumetric additive manufacturing into a new machine that APES has on display called the Matrix 6D. What I find interesting is, I just described Parallax VAM. They're talking about cone beam VAM. So what you see in the APES booth, make sure you clarify that it is the same fundamental technology, because it sounds like 2 different ones to me. In photopolymers, or vat photopolymerization, 2 big established players have announcements. That's Stratasys and 3D Systems. For Stratasys, last week they announced and unveiled the Neo 800 Plus. Neo 800 existed before. They added the Plus. This is all about going after improved speed and lower production costs. On the speed side, what they're doing is incorporating something called Scan Control Plus to accelerate build print or print times by up to 50%, in combination with enhancements to the lasers and enhancements to the optical systems. It also uses a newer breed of resin to really get the time accelerated, and those are high energy photopolymers, able to take dumping of a lot of laser energy into the vat and respond well, including a brand new material called Watershed XC. They also announced, this is interesting, you have to go to a presentation 11 o'clock. For their SAF process, they announced Relife, which is the ability to use previously unusable used powder materials from other powder bed processes because usually you have degradation as you process it. They're claiming that they can take all that old powder from other powder bed fusion technologies and process it in their machine. On the software and AI side, lots of activity. A company I really found interesting that's here for the first time called AMIS, A-M-I-S. They're announcing or showing, demonstrating the latest version of their AMIS Pro software. This is build preparation software, but what really caught my eye is their excellence in doing 3D nesting. They focus on material jetting, binder jetting, and other powder bed processes to create almost instantaneously dense packs for 3D printing. They're claiming 10 to 100 times faster than the competition in doing the process and up to 50% denser packs. Really interesting. They'll be showing demos on that. They also had an announcement just this morning or last night. They're partnering with a company called Phasio, which has the digital workflow tools from quote to delivery of parts. They're integrating both of those into one seamless workflow. Then on to AI. We have Vixiv for lattice generation, using AI to generate lattices, and their target are the design or part engineers that have little or no experience in lattice work or additive manufacturing. They're using AI tool in a really rich model that they've been developing inside by build, test, feed the data in, so that you can identify, here's the part, here's the loading conditions, and out pops multiple versions of a lattice design with designation of what the trade-offs are of each. So depending on what your requirements are, select option A, boom, off to the 3D printer. We also have for AI Euler, EULER, like Euler equations, and they're about error detection. They're leveraging, in a powder bed fusion environment, they are leveraging the cameras or sensors that are already on the machine to detect build failures. So no additional hardware required. The AI is taking care of it. It detects, but also predicts and mitigates problems, and then assembles all that data in a nice way that you can interpret it for insights or comparison system to system. AI Build is also returning. I was really impressed with them last year. They're all about metal or plastic 3D printing, additive manufacturing, for the systems that use a gantry to drive the head or a robot arm. They're all about efficiency in generating the toolpath, creating stronger parts, avoiding failures through the use of AI. They've got a new version that's giving you even more control, more insight, more confidence into the print with improved crash detection, improved toolpath analysis, and also an engineering assistant. And then finally, I have a company, I don't know if it's going to be something worth your while to see, but it will be entertaining. The company is called Trippo AI. Got a huge turnout. Their booth was packed at TCT Asia, which was about 3 weeks ago. This company has existed using AI to generate digital assets for the gaming community. Assets that are intended to live only in that gaming environment or whatever other virtual world, with the use of text input, create me a character that looks like this, an image, or a sketch. Now they're taking it to the physical world. What they create can now be ported to your additive manufacturing machine. I don't know if it has, if it's applicable for those of us making components, but it's be worthwhile just to see for an interesting GWOW application. I've got others, but time does not allow. We'll cover those tomorrow, plus my show floor insights from today. So with that, we've got a lot to do. We've got a lot to see. I'm excited, but if you're like me, I'm already apprehensive of the exhaustion I will be facing at the end of today, trying to get to see all of this, and the exhaustion at the end of the week. So there's a lot to see. There's a lot for you to do. Let me ask you one more time. Are you ready? Okay, you can do it. I did a terrible job, or you just don't have the energy yet. Let's try that one more time. Are you ready? There we go. Let's get rolling. I'll see you out on the show floor. Enjoy your day, and I really hope that it's very, very productive for you. Thank you very much.
additive manufacturing is impacting everything. Everything we touch, everything we see, hear, drive, fly, light, build up, tear down, and build again. Every part of our lives. Industrial 3D printing and additive manufacturing. As powerful as it is flexible. As sustainable as it is customizable. And for 35 years, SME has gathered the greatest and boldest minds, the titans of industrial 3D printing and additive manufacturing, and built a strategically located premier event that's one of a kind, Rapid Plus TCT. This is where the additive manufacturing community of leaders, emerging startups, and vital suppliers come to showcase innovations, insights, and solutions, and discover new ways for the world to travel safer, live longer, learn better, and advance faster than ever before. Rapid Plus TCT is where business gets done, and so much more. It's a vibrant landscape of collaborators and groundbreakers, where big ideas are sparked on our show floors, and products are launched into today's most sophisticated applications. With a mission to develop a web of connectivity for key industries, Rapid Plus TCT brings together OEMs, businesses, manufacturing, and people from across the globe to provide solutions in manufacturing like no one else can. Join the innovators and trailblazers of industrial 3D printing. Be part of the solutions to tomorrow's challenges at the only event of its kind, and connect with the people and industries who build the world. Rapid Plus TCT, the solution for additive manufacturing. We pursue new markets and attract new customers. That's why Rapid Plus TCT announced its North American tour, rotating to key geographies to advance and accelerate the adoption of AM. This is a must-attend event. Rapid Plus TCT.
Please welcome to the stage SME's Chief Operating Officer, Steve Prahalis, and the Chief Executive of Rapid News Publications, Duncan Wood.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Detroit. On behalf of SME and Rapid News Publications, welcome to North America's largest and most important AM event. We are thrilled to be celebrating our 35th anniversary this year. Yes, that's 35 years, and we are extremely proud that this year's edition is the largest event we have ever presented. You'll be able to meet with over 500 exhibiting companies. You'll be able to exchange and connect with over 14,000 attendees. You'll be able to discover countless features, including the Discovery Zone, the Tech Hub, the America Makes Pavilion, and SME's Mission Critical Workforce Showcase, and of course, the Executive Perspectives Program. There are 5 of these panels over the next 3 days, 3 every morning, and then 2 in the afternoon. All of these special opportunities and special features are available to everyone at this event. You see, none of this would have been possible without you. Over the years, you have continued to support and shape this event. You have informed us of what you want to see, of what you want to find at this event. You've served in a variety of roles as ambassadors, as advisors, as attendees, as exhibitors, as sponsors. SME is a non-for-profit organization that has been at the forefront of championing additive manufacturing for almost 4 decades now. And we believe strongly that by collaborating with like-minded organizations, we believe those organizations that truly care about the future of AM, we can support and create a community that together we can maximize the potential we have. Strategic partnerships are essential to achieving our mission. This year, we welcome the co-location of SME's 8th edition of Aerodef Manufacturing. We welcome SAE and their WCX event, America Makes and their Spring TRX event, and we celebrate the inaugural SME Fusion Conference. Last but not least, we welcome back our strategic partner, Rapid News Publications. They are the TCT in Rapid Plus TCT.
And we've worked closely together since 2017 to produce this major global AM event. Duncan?
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everybody. It is fantastic to be back in Detroit, the spiritual home of Rapid Plus TCT, and of course the home of SME. TCT's mission is to advance the adoption of additive manufacturing using a wide range of channels, including magazines, digital platforms, and events just like these. This purpose is completely aligned with the SME's goal, and this shared focus is the foundation stone of our successful partnership. 3 years ago to this day, I stood on this stage as we, TCT and SME, announced a continuation of the partnership behind Rapid Plus TCT that had started back in 2017. It was always our intention to build an enduring relationship, and I am pleased to say that we will continue to work together on this important event. To say we are proud of what we've built together over the last 9 years is an understatement, and TCT looks forward to working with SME and many other strategic collaborators to co-produce this event for many years to come. Now, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know that this is the third additive technology event in about 4 weeks that I've been to. And aside from a bumper haul of air miles and only a vague understanding of what time zone I'm in at the moment, I have a couple of observations to leave with you. Firstly, all emerging technologies have their ups and downs, and this is not new news. I opened the conference 10 years ago with the same sentiments, and it remains true today. Secondly, although the industry has its challenges currently, the capabilities continue to develop. The applications continue to grow, and the impact that these technologies can have continues to amaze. Additive is only scratching the surface of its potential, and for that reason, we should all remain excited and optimistic about where this journey takes us. Steve.
And this is why we brought together these organizations and their communities. As aerospace, defense, and mobility are further exposed to additive manufacturing, awareness and adoption will continue to accelerate. SME believes it has a responsibility to demonstrate the viability and growth and the potential of additive manufacturing to the critical sectors and the regional hubs. As you saw before in the video, we announced our North America tour with stops in Los Angeles, this year in Detroit, and we're proud to be heading to New England for the first time ever next year with Rapid Plus TCT in Boston. Yes, indeed, absolutely. It's where I'm from, so it's going to be a great event. Please remember, mark your calendars, and we look forward to seeing you next year in Boston. Remember, whether it's your first time at Rapid Plus TCT or your 35th time, this is your event. As I said before, as a non-for-profit in collaboration with our strategic partner, we do this in an effort to advance everything around the technologies and the industry that we all believe so much in. And so with that, welcome home to your event.
So now it's time to give your attention to our first Executive Perspectives Keynote Series panel. At a time when additive manufacturing has reached a critical inflection point, here's your opportunity to hear from the most powerful minds shaping AM's global landscape. Let's welcome our panelists to the stage.
Please welcome to the stage today's Executive Perspective panel, Todd Grimm of Grimm Associates Incorporated, Nick Graham from Formlabs, Yoav Zeif of Stratasys, Glynn Fletcher of EOS, and Brigitte de Vet from Materialise.
Like that.
Welcome. Brigitte.
I think we're having a quick picture.
I think we'll move it.
Oh, we've got to make
We
it
first
up.
need to do the picture, yeah.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We're selling copies of that picture for $10 a piece if you like one. Oh. Welcome to Additive Manufacturing Impact, a view from the C-suite, and obviously this is the C-suite sitting next to me. A couple of admin items. Well, first off, this conversation, I don't know where it's going to go. We can be talking about turmoil, opportunities, challenges, burdens, trends, transformation, impacts of other technologies on ours. We're going to see where it goes through the conversation we have and also through your questions, which, as I said in my opening remarks, if you have a question to ask, please submit it through the app, through the live interaction tile, and that will be fed to this device next to me. 2 other items. First off, I've instructed or asked my panelists to drive the information to a level where it is actionable and usable by each of you, meaning that you can use it to build your strategy, you can build your tactics, you can use it for implementation, you can use it to decide what your course is. Not that they wouldn't, but just make sure we're at a level where we're not talking so high level that it's just interesting information. The other thing, this is for you instructions. I've told the panelists that they can speak freely because unless they state my company, the company name, or I, assume that they are talking general observations from across the whole industry. That just opens us up a little bit more to a freer conversation instead of somebody saying Stratasys is, Materialise is. It's an observation of the industry. So with that, we're going to get started, and I'm going to start with the elephant in the room. So we've had a couple of tough years, and it's still a bit tough times. What's your take on where we are? What's your assessment, and what are the contributing factors that got us here?
Should I go?
Glynn?
So I know it's kind of hard to believe given my youthful demeanor, but I've been in the manufacturing industry now for, around about 40 years. 30 years in subtractive, so CNC machine tools, and 10 years with EOS in the additive space. 20 years in Europe, 20 years in the United States, roughly speaking. And I think it's true to say that in 40 years, you see a few ups and you see a few downs. Of course, there are no ups without downs anyway. I mean, that's just the balance of nature. But what is obvious to me, and I think it's a condition of life as well, is that things don't typically move in this sort of linear vector that goes upwards all the time. There's always going to be some challenges that have to be faced. I can remember in 2008, I was at IMTS, the big Chicago machine tool show, and on the Tuesday or Wednesday of that day, we were all celebrating an absolutely fantastic time. The business was great, things were moving in the right direction. We had a full order book. I was working for a company called GFMS at that time, aka Aji Shami. And then on the Thursday, what happened? Lehman Brothers happened. And we plunged into the sort of deepest recession that we've seen in quite some time. But we survived. We took it in our stride, we adjusted, we adapted, we found other ways of doing business, and despite the fact that we went from a full order book to sort of 40% down, we came out of that stronger than we went into it. And I think that can be said of additive manufacturing. Like I said, it's been the last 10 years, and for the first 5 of those 10 years, it was a very, very, very positive trend. I couldn't believe my luck. I was in an industry that was growing at an exponential rate, coming from an industry where typically it was more about cost control rather than growth. So it's much more exciting to be in a growth industry. But I think, and this might be a bit controversial, and I hope I don't insult anybody in the room, but I think some of the problems that additive manufacturing has had have been kind of self-inflicted. Because of that period of hype in that first 5 years of my tenure, the number of, I don't want to call, so-called industry experts that were predicting 25% compound annual growth year on year, the number of founders who were presenting pitch decks to investors that said they were going to go from 0 to 5 billion in 5 years' time, all created a sort of a level of expectation that was just not normal. And now we're seeing the consequence of that. Things are flattening out, but things are also moving in a very, very positive direction. Steve said the first Rapid was 35 years ago. Can you imagine how many people attended that first Rapid? Probably the number that are on the first 2 rows of this audience here. And now there's a room full of, I don't know, 1,000 people or so, and this show is going to be great. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I have a really positive attitude.
Other comments?
Well, let me pick on this, what you said, because I 100% agree with some of the self-inflicted pain that we're going through, the overhype that we created. Now, what I am not sure is whether we learned our lesson truly. So we're certainly going to talk about how we look at the future, but I do think, well, first of all, I've never agreed with the doom and gloom of the last couple of years. I think that was also exaggerated, because in our industry, we have also in the last couple of years that, yes, maybe generally speaking might have been more difficult, Todd, but there have been pockets of really good growth and adoption of additive and real impact. The medical sector is one of these examples where we have a real impact on patients' lives, and that is a sector that continues to grow. So I have disagreed with the doom and gloom that a lot of people have been talking about over the last couple of years, but I also disagree with some of the statements that are now made about the doom and gloom is behind us and it's all great for the future again. No, let's be realistic. Let's make sure we've learned our lesson and do not overhype anything anymore, including the possibilities of some of the new technologies and tools that we are given, like AI. Yes, it has great power, but let's not overhype it.
I'm going to ask for a vow. So to get rid of the hype and be more realistic, could you all raise your right hands and state after me? My organization vows to...
No, why not? Go for it.
Yeah, well, you go for it? So we have one vow.
I can add on. I also disagree with the doom and gloom and the general kind of hand-wringing about the industry. But maybe from a different perspective, to be clear, Formlabs, our company, we do stereolithography and SLS 3D printing. We're doing very well. We're growing very fast. Over the past 3-4 quarters, we've had some of our best financial performance ever, and we're growing fast with great economics. It's not just us. I think it'd be crazy to not talk about the emergence of Bamboo Labs in 3D printing over the past few years. They built a phenomenal, massive business with hyper growth because they have executed incredibly well. They brought an amazing set of products to market. Their sales, their marketing, their go-to-market is great. Their customer service, the community they've built is fantastic. They've done things that are exciting and interesting. And I'd say primarily they've delivered a ton of value to a wide range of customers, and they've done that at a global scale. So, Formlabs is doing well, but we look at companies like Bamboo Labs and think about what we can learn from them and what we should emulate. And we also look at broader technology companies, not just in additive or just manufacturing, to say there's lots of companies in the world that are doing well in this kind of macro environment. Some of them are doing things, they're just executing really well. And so studying those and trying to emulate them and bring them to our industry is something I'd love to see more of.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for the comments. And by the way, welcome to Rapid TCT. I'm optimistic. What can I say? Very optimistic. Even in a downturn, I'll talk about Stratasys for a minute. In Q4, we generated 9.4% EBITDA margin. So this industry can be profitable. We are just going through, how should I call it, growth pains. Okay? And this is a decisive moment in the history of this industry because there was this hype of a printer in every home, and then there was this hype of the spec, hey, we are going to conquer manufacturing tomorrow morning. This one didn't happen, and the other one didn't happen. But, and it's kind of a teaser to a 1 o'clock presentation that I'm giving, overall, we are growing as an industry and delivering value. But there is a huge gap between perception, and we are all kind of attached to the perception versus reality and facts. You can be profitable, you can deliver value, but you need to notice that this industry, that we are part of it, I feel at home here, by the way, I know so many people. Our industry is going through a change with a macro environment that it's not supportive, which on one hand it's hard, on the other hand, it's actually an opportunity because when the macro push you, you have to be sharp and focused and to deliver. And we will see an industry that overall will see the great performance of the Bamboo Labs and Formlabs, but this is a certain segment of the market. This is the prototyping, some start or entry-level manufacturing. And we'll see the high end, where we are doing very well, like in aerospace and defense. We are growing. So it's part of maturing. It's healthy. We need the stamina to be there. And it will happen, and in a big way.
Well, we have, just to allay fears or any concerns, we've got a question here that I don't know if I'm going to ask about tariffs and all that. So I want to take the recent tariffs out of this equation. What do you see? I mean, have we reached, let's call it the bottom, and now it's moving forward and moving up? And how have we, and then also, how fast will we emerge stronger or healthier? Are we looking at 5 years, 10 years, or 6 months? And again, just to allay any fears in the audience of, is this something I want to invest in my career or for my company? Anybody got the crystal ball?
I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not going to pretend. But I would say the advice I could give people who are shopping, for additive solutions would be to just ask the company, the OEM you're buying from, to share their financial performance. My read is until we have companies that have what I would say are like normal financial performance of other industries, we should expect some of them to struggle. Let's be honest, like we've had companies in additive running at something like negative 70% net profit margin. That's not sustainable. That's not a good business model. And some of it I feel bad is opaque because they're private companies, but anyone buying a piece of hardware and investing a lot of money can sign an NDA with a company, ask for more transparency, and ask them to prove to them that they're going to be around for 5 or 10 years. And I think, honestly, that would be a good practice for everyone to adopt because, unfortunately, we have some companies that are really not running a sustainable business model.
No, but I think now those organizations that are participating in this industry today, those people and companies who are exhibiting at this trade show Rapid, I mean, they have gone through the most difficult of times, and they have emerged, well, whether we call it successful or whether we call it survival, but they are now, I think, organizations that have a much more pragmatic view of the future and can be trusted as a consequence of that. I think nobody here who is participating is the sort of organization that could not be trusted to be a reliable partner. And I think in additive manufacturing, that's, Nick, you're right. I mean, one of the things that customers need to rely on is the reliability of the partnership. And it's not just the financial reliability, but it's also has a lot to do with the support that can be provided by those organizations when things get to be a little difficult from a technical perspective as well. I mean, okay, at one level there is such a thing as plug-and-play additive manufacturing, but at the industrial level, that is certainly not the case. And I think those organizations that are able to provide and convince the end user that they have the infrastructure, the support infrastructure, both on the applied side, the application engineering side, and on the service and support side, are the organizations that will ultimately be the most successful because they de-risk. If you're spending $1 million on an industrial additive manufacturing piece of equipment, then you want to be absolutely certain that the company that you're doing business with has got the sort of depth of infrastructure and has invested ahead of the requirement to be able to provide you with the confidence that you will be able to apply that equipment in the way that you need to apply it.
I want to go back to the question, Todd, that you asked. Are we at the bottom of the evolution, and can it now only go up or not? I think that's a very difficult question to answer with just in one sentence, because I think in this industry we need to stop talking about the industry in a whole, because the evolution or the answer to your question is very different depending on the applications we talk about, depending on the segments that we are enabling with additive technology. So if you look at some of the applications where additive has been adopted, I referred to the medical or the healthcare side of things earlier. I mean, we haven't seen any bottom, and we will continue to see growth. Aerospace and defense was referred to by Yoav earlier. It's a great segment where there's adoption happening and where it's going to continue. At the same time, there's applications and industries that at this point in time are struggling. I mean, look at the automotive industry, certainly with a European perspective. It's an area that is, going through difficult times. Hence, we as a provider to that industry are also going through, seeing that, the impact of that. So I think what we need to learn in this industry is talk more about applications, about specific segments, and what the needs also are in those segments. And that shift to applications also means that what we've in the past seen is that a lot of us as companies have been broad-based, serving all industries. If we really want to serve the users in a specific industry, these days, advanced users, we need to think more application solutions specific to that industry, and maybe also learn to focus a lot more on those rather than trying to do everything. So to your question, it's a very difficult question to answer in one sentence. I think the view is very different depending on the applications we're talking about. And let's talk applications, because at the end of the day, if we don't enable our applications, we don't create value. And then it's not sustainable.
We completely agree with Brigitte. But I will relate to the other section of your question. Like the audience here, if I will be for a minute a career advisor, there is no better industry to be in. And why I'm saying it, I have 2 sons, and if they ask me where to put their chances on an industry, I believe they should go for digital industry. And we are losing this perspective in a sense. Nothing will stop additive because the world is going digital. If we want it or not, this is the new world. It's going digital. Manufacturing takes more time to adapt to it, but it will be digital as well. And you need a file, and you need something that will transform the file into an object. And it's kind of philosophy, but it is what it is. And the whole AI and the way we will communicate with the digital space has to go through something which is volatile and can really translate it into an object. So I'm very optimistic on it. I think this is the industry to be in. Nothing will happen overnight. We need to build our capabilities. We need to focus on applications. But I also believe that we need to start capturing value as an industry. And this is part of growing up. Because the fact that we will put hundreds of thousands of printers, but we will lose on every printer, and we will sell spools for $15, and we will lose on the spools as well. This is great. Happy that people are doing it. I don't want to be there, to be honest. We need to capture values. And historically, for the last 35 years, this industry, and I'm coming from economics, I was teaching in the university. This industry is a use case of how not to capture value. Because so many players, so many technologies, we are so excited from the innovation. But if you don't capture the value, you don't have future. And the value has to go through also through material and software and downstream. And it's part of growing up.
Yeah, and just to pick up on that a little bit, I think that's a really interesting point, this capture of value point. For too long, this industry has been described as cool.
Exactly.
You know, everything was cool. And a lot of it is cool, and I have no problem with the word cool, but when we start talking about cost effective, then I think we'll start to talk about the true path to success.
It's also cool to capture value, by the way.
Correct.
I think it was you that said this morning, cool is not a business model.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
true.
Also add on, it's a similar thing, but maybe a slightly different angle. I would love us to just talk more about great execution. I also think it's an industry, we talk about it being cool, we get excited about technology. It's totally understandable. The technology is pretty amazing. But companies, whether it's OEMs, partners, or people in the ecosystem, we all need to actually execute and raise our game. At Formlabs, one of the things we do to keep ourselves honest is we mystery shop ourselves. So we actually, we are a third party, will come through our system and try to buy from Formlabs and see how responsive and how good advice we give and things. And we also mystery shop our competitors and our partners. And to be candid, like some of the results are disappointing. You come across a lot of misses, whether it's websites that don't have the right information, or e-commerce checkout that has bugs, or a sales team that doesn't respond to you very quickly, or they don't give great consultative advice. I would love us to obsess about execution because there's a lot more we can do to grow faster and be more profitable if we just refocus on that. You'll never regret becoming a better operator. And I see very little of that in the narrative and the dialogue. And once again, if you zoom out to other industries, a lot of times it's really praised and celebrated to be an amazing marketer, or someone who's in growth, or someone who's in sales or customer service or anything else. And people really try to master their craft. And we need some of that kind of functional obsession and execution obsession in additive if we just want to build great businesses. That's just the basics.
Cool. We agree.
Well, while I don't disagree with your execution point, I 100% agree. We should obsess about that. But if we talk about what we should obsess about, I think in this industry, there's one other topic that we should really be obsessive about, and that is collaboration. This industry needs to understand that it's not by competing against the players in this industry that we will grow the industry, but by working together to convince the traditional manufacturing users that additive has so much potential, and that collaboration can really drive the growth in our industry. So doing more of that is certainly something that I would love to obsess about. Now, and I'm really pleased by the setup this week here. Collaboration is, I think the main theme of co-locating, some of the events, and I think that's a great example of, how we can leverage synergies. And as companies, as industry players, we definitely should do more of that.
Just to pick up on that. So IMTS, the big machine tool trade show, comes around every 2 years, 2024, and it will be here in 2026. The floor plans were just released. So if you go online, you can see a floor plan for IMTS. Inside of IMTS, there is an additive pavilion, which is quite impressive because not so long ago, there wasn't an additive machine to be seen at what is described as the largest machine tool exhibition in the world. Now we have an additive pavilion. But in that additive pavilion, I didn't count it up, but typically there are 50, 60, maybe 70 companies, which we think is really good because, 70 companies who are exhibiting at a trade show like that, it's not so bad. It's 70 companies in an exhibitor total of close to 2,000. And we can all spend our time competing against ourselves in our little additive pavilion pond, or we can get together and figure out how to compete with those people who are in the traditional manufacturing sector, like CNC machining, grinding, turning, milling, etc., and figure out how to be a viable alternative to those technologies. And we can do it, you know. Materialise can do it, EOS can do it, Stratasys can do it, Formlabs can do it independently. But in my opinion, we need to get together and do it collectively, and then we'll be a much more powerful force.
Yeah, I would love to build on that. Completely agree. The competition is not us. We are so small. The competition is the status quo. All of us know it. Having said that, I'm coming from the chemical industry. I was managing R&D for many, many years. And the collaboration between the large chemical company, the Bayer, the Syngenta, DuPont, Dow, now they are together. It's like, I cannot make money. Your output is my input. Your product, I use it. And it's like everybody is working with everyone else. But it's a mindset. And when I came to this industry more than 5 years ago, I tried a few also lately. And just looking at the mirror, the collaboration between the large companies doesn't exist. The mindset doesn't exist, even when we sign some collaborations. The other side, and I'm not blaming anyone, it's a mindset. It's a mindset of the industry. I'm innovative, I'm cool, if I'll do something which is win-win. So even when you collaborate, it's a win-lose mindset. This is us. This is just an observation. In order to take the next step, we need to adopt, and it's a cliche, but it is working. I'm also 40 years in business. Win-win works because it creates sustainable collaboration. And we don't have this mindset. Everybody thinks that the other one is the enemy, and even if I collaborate, I need that my hands will be on top of your hand. Food for thought.
Nick, any additional comments on collaboration from your world?
I'd say our philosophy is it's all rooted in delivering customer value. So we're talking about integrations and software as an example. So I think the place the collaboration will be the most fruitful is when we are trying to solve a problem for customers that creates tons of value that is very hard to do independently. And I think that's where the win-win is the most poignant, the most clear, and it really motivates everyone to get on board and to work together. So I guess that would be my advice for us to figure out where it's going to work well and maybe break the cycle is to find really valuable applications that are great for customers where you can't go alone. You really need to collaborate, and I think it'll come a bit more naturally.
Playing off of collaboration, I'm going to introduce Leading Minds. So Leading Minds is a brand new, I'll let someone explain, but coalition of additive manufacturing, suppliers, players. We have 3 representatives, Brigitte, Glynn, and Yoav. All 3 companies are part of the Leading Minds. My question to you on this is, as a collaboration, a collective entity, what are the top issues, hurdles, things that stand in the way that really is in the mind of the Leading Minds players? And are there any initial action plans, or this is where we're going to focus to solve some of those problems?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I can actually use a lot of what has been said here because the Leading Minds initiative was really launched to address some of what was discussed. And it's all around stimulating that collaboration a lot more. Now, specifically, the initiative has been launched last year at Formnext, so what is that, half a year ago, not even. So we are still, in the starting journey. So we decided to focus on very specific actions to make progress, rather than talking generally, what can we do, and big principles, etc. One is, picking into the example that Glynn gave, representation at non-additive shows, where we could leverage our synergies and pool our resources to get the message on AM out. And the very specific KPI that we've set ourselves is that by the end of this year, we want to have 2 shows that we've gone through to, as a group of people, communicating the message of this is what additive can you do for you. So a non-additive show, I'm talking. So it's a very specific game with a very specific KPI. So that's one initiative, creating awareness to the traditional industries, traditional manufacturing industries, that additive exists and what it can do for you. The second is all around creating the value through better collaboration on, for our customers that need us as an industry and as providers to work together in an easier way. In an easier way in workflows that customers have or processes that customers go through from A to Z. Now, in order to create more collaboration and compatibility between different pieces of equipment, software, etc., in that process, the very simple step that we want to take there is agree on some labeling, on some ways of calling technologies and some principal concepts or basic concepts that will allow us eventually to get to plug and play. I think that was used earlier. Today it's not plug and play, but that's the vision that we need to have. So creating what we call a domain model where we label things in a certain way so that the interconnectivity is going to be much easier for our users, and we can create that value by putting pieces of a puzzle together between different companies in the future. So creating a domain model is one very specific one that we want to work on as an industry, by the end of this year. And then the third initiative or pillar of what we're going to do is education. We still need to up the skills and competencies of the younger generation of people getting into this industry and asking themselves maybe the question, should I get into this industry or not? But also generally speaking in the industry, out of a survey that we've done, I think it's about a year ago, we heard very loud and clear from companies that finding the right skills is still an issue. So it's a limiting factor to have the right competencies in the workforce. So pooling resources on the educational front is a third pillar of the initiative. Why should we're all doing educational activities. Why should we do that on our own rather than pooling our resources and with that accelerate the efforts there? So that's essentially what Leading Minds as an initiative is focusing on. And indeed, there's 3 of the companies that are founding members on this stage, but there's obviously more that are represented here. And we would love other companies to join in as well. It should be an industry initiative at the end of the day.
I think we've also got to understand that we as an industry need to fit into the bigger picture of manufacturing. And I think this is a way of doing it. We're in Detroit, Motor City. I may be exaggerating, but we could drive 20, 30 miles in any direction and find a machine shop with 300, 400, maybe even 500 CNC machines, all churning out parts for the automotive industry. Now, are those machine shops with all of that capital investment and all of that sunken cost going to change instantly to additive manufacturing? Of course not. There's so many vested interests, there's so many engineers that have been doing the same thing for 30 years without ever considering additive manufacturing. And now it's got to fit in. So the more that we can do to provide standards and to facilitate that process so that we stop being a sort of adversarial industry, so it's subtractive or it's additive, we become a complementary industry. And then we'll find our place. Because, there isn't a turning industry, there isn't a milling industry, no. There isn't an EDMing industry. but there is an additive industry and there is a subtractive industry. For me, it shouldn't matter. There should just be the best way of making things. And if that means it's an interface between or complementary processes that include both the traditional ways and the new ways which are additive, then so be it. And we've got to make that happen. I mean, it's not, our customers are not going to do it for us. We're the ones who have to make that happen.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's where you get into building ecosystems that integrate easier with traditional manufacturing technologies, but building ecosystems between the additive suppliers and components of a process is equally important, because that's how we stimulate that collaboration, that's how we create that value, that's how we foster the needs, or we answer the needs of our customers that want to have the best solution, not the best equipment or the printer. Yes, they want a printer, but they want the combination of a printer, material, software, all of that working together to provide them the solution that they need. And that's the ecosystem that we need to build as an industry.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why we are part of it. And it's all about adoption. Like the one objective that all of us should have in our offices is adoption. The pace of adoption is slow. And we can accelerate it by delivering value. But saying value doesn't solve anything. This is another cliche. Okay, value. What is value? And our customers are telling us what is value. We just need to listen carefully to what is value. And they are telling us, we need the part to meet the requirements. Well, that's simple. It's not simple, but they tell us. It needs to meet the requirement, like accuracy. The second thing that they are telling us is that when you are printing, they expect that it won't only meet the requirements, also it will be reliable. We are not shining on reliability as an industry. I visited most of our customers, the large one at least. I saw so many rooms, dark rooms, with printers that were bought somewhere in the last 15, 20 years. It's amazing. You have this room with machines, and it's dark because they say it's not reliable. We gave up on it. They come with the customer success or customer support or whatever you call it, and it has to be reliable. That's delivering value, and it is measured by OE. The third thing that they are telling us, it's about the total cost of ownership, and it's the whole workflow. It's not the cost of just the machine or the material of the software. It's how much the whole process costs and how convenient it is. And the last one is enablement. If we deliver this, and I'm hearing it again and again and again, if we will deliver those 4 things, we'll be in a completely different place. And we cannot do it across the board. We need to find the segments and the applications to deliver on it.
Now, I've got a question from the audience. I'm going to pose it to you, Nick, related very much to what we've talked about here. The question is the AM industry too internally focused, which we've already got some input on that. I want to hear from you. And would adoption be accelerated by working closely with the customer base? So are we too internally focused, and would we be better off adoption-wise?
Yes, an emphatic yes to both. I think I've said it already, but we're definitely too infatuated with just the technology and then too internally focused. If we think about role models of companies that have built tremendous value, captured tremendous value, most of them are outside of additive. No shock. It's a relatively small industry in the grand scheme of things. And I come across very few people talking to people who are thinking about the industry who bring those lessons and examples to bear and try to replicate it in theirs. So I think we would do really well by looking broadly to subtractive or traditional manufacturing, but even farther outside to just companies that are amazing, that are delivering amazing software or hardware or just solutions. It could be consulting and services. There's tons to learn in the world of business, and we should all be students of it. And I think there's just not enough of that currently. It's a lot of fun. It helps us all get better as professionals, so people are thinking about building their career. I think it's just a better way to operate. So I think definitely we should look externally And then the second one was about customers. Companies will rarely regret obsessing over delivering more value to customers and being able to capture that value. And that can be in the form of obsessing about getting an application right. It can be just a breakthrough in technology. Maybe it's reliability. Yoav was talking about reliability. So we could, if you bring out a product or you refine your product and it is a step change in reliability and that creates value and that reduces their total cost of ownership over the long term, it's unlikely you'll regret that. And so I think if we can look more externally and then also just always come back to the customer and study what they need, we'll do better. Sure.
And I think Yoav mentioned two things. He talked about total cost of ownership and talked about overall equipment efficiency, all of which factor in to what I believe to be the most important criteria, and it's another acronym. So we had OEE and we have TCO, which is CPP, cost per part. We as an industry have to understand that there is an imperative to bring down the cost of what we produce, because that's what is going to have the biggest impact on adoption. Because our customers, we said it earlier, customers don't care. Well, customers do. They like cool, but they also like cost effective. And if we can be cost effective, then we can be more competitive with those traditional ways of doing things. And then it makes the decision easy. When your salespeople have to factor in all of the variables to justify additive manufacturing, it can be quite a challenging thing. But if you can prove that you can not only produce the cool part, or you can not only lightweight the part, or you can not only improve inventory management through the part, or distributed manufacturing, or supply chain resilience, all of these abstracts, but you can actually make that part cost effectively, the cost per part then speaks for itself and it becomes a much easier sell.
I totally agree, and I would love if we would just simplify down to that criteria, because if there's three buckets of broad applications for 3D printing: prototyping, jigs and fixtures, or tooling, and end-use parts. In jigs and fixtures and tooling and end-use parts, it is very unlikely you're selling a ton of additive solutions unless the cost per part is better.
Correct.
Exactly.
It's just not going to happen. And so we talk about the other value props, there are some like making your supply chain resilient or having modularity or a different lightweighting is an example. But it's just very unlikely you're going to close the deal unless the total cost per part is significantly lower.
In this city specifically,
In this city, exactly.
Not
the
gonna
CNC
happen.
shop is not buying it unless you are delivering a lower total cost per part. And so the material prices generally have to come down, and you have to be able to run a profitable business while you do that. And then I think the other big opportunity is automation, especially when you're talking about end-use parts, because you're talking about the labor cost, which is a huge factor, especially in developed economies. So in North America and Europe, if you're not introducing more automation over time and dropping the labor cost per part, it's going to be hard to compete with more automated traditional manufacturing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to pick on this one to go back to 2 points I made earlier. I mean, if I 100% agree it's about the cost of the part, and we all have known that for years. But I think where we need to accelerate the effort is that it's not about optimizing one step in the process or one piece of equipment or just the equipment without looking at the material and the software, that we're going to make progress there. Reducing the cost of part is around the total solution and the different components that work together in an ideal way to reduce that cost of part. Hence, the collaboration that I talked about. We really need to get serious about that. Hence, the ecosystems that we need to build, because automation, yes, great, but not only in one step of the process. If you look at the end-to-end workflow, how can we truly increase the efficiencies and reduce the cost of the part is by using information that comes from the back end of the process to inject that with AI and other possibilities that we have at the front end of your next process to make sure that your build goes better the next time. So we need to connect the dots. We need an ecosystem to collect that data to then smartly be able to use that. That's how we're going to get the cost down. So building the ecosystems and collaboration in this industry, that's what's going to accelerate that process, because yes, it's down to the cost of parts, but we're not doing good enough there yet.
How far off are we on, let's say, Rita, so ecosystem and automation, is it within reach? Let's say for a significant impact, is it within reach, or are we still way out there and you're disappointed at what's happening in that? And this is a question for everyone. So ecosystems, building them out, and then automation.
Well, yeah.
Where are we?
It's totally within reach because honestly, we don't need the next shiny thing to come around the corner to be able to make that happen. We have everything with the collective, great products and offerings that we have. We have everything that is required to accelerate, the applications that are, at that tipping point to be developed. So nothing new needed, just you have talked about a different mindset. That's exactly what we need, different mindset and real steps to more collaboration and creating those ecosystems. So
and by the way, just to add to it, if I may, our customers are telling that to us. They say, okay, we have innovation. We have what we need. We have good machines. What we don't have is this checkbox that it meets manufacturing requirement. They said, now focus on the automation, focus on the software, focus on the cost of the material. If you improve this, and how to improve it is to focus on specific application and makes the difference because you cannot do everything. So how we get there, it's within reach. I say in the next 5 years, focus and collaborate. That's the way to create the impact.
Yeah.
I can't add too much. I agree entirely with Brigitte. I mean, we're nearly there. There is no going back. Additive is here to stay. It will evolve. It is evolving. There are so many large organizations that have additive now embedded into their programs. Organizations that are in regulated industries where once it's spec'd in, it stays in. And we need to build on that. We just need to build on that. We need to learn our lessons. We need to take our medicine. We have to improve our performance as an organization. And if we're able to do all of that, then the future couldn't be brighter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking back when you mentioned, job shop, machine shop with 200-300 mills. With the way we've conducted business, self-inflicted wounds is what I'm getting at. With the way we've conducted business, we're different, we're better, we're gonna change your world and rock your world. Are the people running those operations, the machine shops, and the people down on the floor running the machines, open to a conversation about additive? Or do we have even fundamental work to do just to get through the door and have them hear what we're saying? Well, to accept that we are listening to them and now accepting their input to drive what we do and how we attack an application. So are they ready? Or are they closed off and fingers in ears?
I don't think there is a manufacturing company in the world. No, that's an exaggeration. Don't exaggerate, Glynn. Don't get overhyped. But certainly in the Western world, who is not considering additive manufacturing at some level. Now, some of them are all in. Some of them are very, very cautious. Some of them are not at all enthusiastic. But it's on everybody's agenda. Every CEO of every manufacturing company in the United States, which is the closest market to me, I think, is at least considering, but in a lot of cases has made the decision to incorporate, to deploy additive manufacturing. And it's always the same. These things then grow, It starts somewhere, and it is proven. The worst thing we can do is disappoint our customers. If we disappoint our customers, then that's the thing that will ultimately lead to it won't be a downfall, but if there was something that could lead to a downfall, it is a disappointment of a customer. Because that's kind of viral, and there are cynics out there who want to, find ways of, and there's a very large traditional machine tool industry that really doesn't want additive manufacturing to be successful because it undermines their ability to be successful. But we're there, we're embedded, and it's just a question now of execution. It's performance over personality. There's been too much personality, I think, in this industry for too long. Now, step up and perform.
Glynn, you're looking at me.
No.
He's not saying I have
You've
a
got
good
a nice-
personality, but no, I agree wholeheartedly. Nick, any other observations on that?
Slightly different angle, and I was thinking about your comment about the shop with 300 milling machines. I think the shop with 1 to 3 milling machines is a lot more open-minded. And I think that's something that we don't talk about a lot in additive, is there's some fundamental principles that make additive a better fit, especially at this time, for small, medium enterprises versus large enterprises. And so one is that small businesses, even if whether they're a startup or not, they take on more risk. They're quicker to adopt more challenges. They're faster moving, right? Smaller organizations are faster and tend to be more aggressive than larger ones, and they have to take more risks to succeed. So that's a great thing because we're talking about adoption, right? Who's going to adopt faster? A smaller, more aggressive organization versus a large one, all things equal, is going to adopt faster. And I think the machine shop with the 3 milling machines, to me, is a much better prospect from that regard than the one with 300. If you get enough with 3 or 5 machines, you'll get the one with 300 when they're ready to talk. The second thing is there's some principles where additive is competitive, and that's in lower part counts, right? The lower the part count, the more the value prop of additive, right? And as you go higher in part count, you struggle versus subtractive. That's one of the laws of additive manufacturing. And who has lower part counts? Smaller or medium businesses versus large enterprises. So the value prop, just on a first principle basis, is very high to those businesses. And so that's what we're seeing accelerate in our business at Formlabs, is more smaller manufacturing sites. So we see a lot of businesses that have 3, 5 milling machines that are adopting our SLS machines and building a small fleet. They start with 1, then 3, then 5, then 8. You see it in distributed manufacturing in the military, where they want to deploy manufacturing sites all over the place and produce drones and other things for military applications. So I think it makes sense to focus and obsess sometimes around those smaller organizations that are going to take more risk and adopt faster, just on a first principle level.
I'm going to disagree here for a second, and I'll be provocative. Yes, to a certain extent, it's obviously true that the lower volume applications are more suitable to additive, so I won't argue that. At the same time, the boundaries have been shifting, and we need to accept that there's actually cases where we're not talking about thousands or 100,000s of parts, but we're talking really large volumes. So in our mindset, we should look at those and accept that our value can be much bigger, and that's what we should also aim at. 2 examples. I'm going back to the medical space. There's millions of patients that run around with implants that have been made with additive technology because of the functionality that can be created with additive. And that's how you get to large volumes. Second example is, for those of you that have traveled to China, go to China and you see millions of parts, in applications, in electronics in particular. So I think our boundaries are shifting. Yes, the smaller volumes applications are still ideally suited, but there are very large volume applications that are there, have been there for years, and that's where our impact has been absolutely tremendous.
By the way, you're both right. It's not provocative because you're both right. There are 5 areas where additive win, and we all need to focus there. We shouldn't, I said it many times, we shouldn't compete on reducing the price or the cost of Toyota Corolla. That's not the place for us. We need to deliver special geometries and properties that only additive can deliver engineering-wise. We need to go to low volume, high mix. We need to protect supply chains. It's a must. We need to be more sustainable. Some companies, it's critical for them to be more sustainable, and we can deliver it. And last but not least, personalization. The whole customization. Those 5 areas, we don't touch anything else, because the moment you try to fight where you don't have differentiation or competitive edge, you lose. And we are such a new, 35 years, but such a new industry. That's the place to focus on. When I'm listening to my peers here, colleagues, it's clear that all of us know exactly what to do. We are more or less speaking the same language. As Nick said, it's execution now. It's execution time, and we need tons of patience here. Stamina, persistence, whatever you call it. Because we know what we need to do. We know what our customers are expecting from us. You need to be a good operator and deliver it. And then we will grow and grow more, and we'll reach this inflection point. So I'm very optimistic, as I said from the beginning, because I'm hearing that all of us are well connected to our customers. If it's the three machines manufacturers or the 100 machines, it doesn't matter. If we will deliver, we will win.
I'm going to ask for an oh yeah. Prove them right or prove them wrong. So if you feel you're connected to your supplier, whatever additive manufacturing tools, and they listen and they hear you, shout out oh yeah on my count of 3. If you feel connected and they're listening to you. 1, 2, 3.
Oy.
No one feels connected? All right, let's do it the opposite way.
Okay,
if you feel
we have work to do.
if you feel disconnected and unheard, shout out on the count of 3, oh yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Well,
that wasn't a big difference. All right, so never mind that question.
Oh.
You guys are no fun. You're no fun.
Well, I'll give you one example where I think we can listen more to our customers and where, I would empathize with, some of what was expressed just now. I think, yes, we should all be close to our customers, and I think, that's an obvious one. But we should get even closer by doing 2 things. One is giving our customers true access to the tools and providing them open tools so that they can do what's right with their applications. I'm not sure we've done a stellar job in that. Yes, we're doing better in providing open equipment with that allows different types of materials from different providers. Yes, we're doing better. Yes, we're doing better in giving customers, users, access to the machine parameters, but it's slow, and it's not sufficient yet. So I think that's one where I could certainly empathize with the feeling that was expressed here. And the second is that I think we need to trust our users a lot more than what we've done potentially in the past, because there are advanced users that know what they're doing. So rather than, back to closing our systems, well, let me talk from a software perspective, the step that we've taken is that, we're trusting our customers and we give them access to the algorithm base that has been built over the last 35 years for them to use, for you to use, based on the SDKs that we provide. That's really empowering our users. And that's the steps that we need to take to create a different voice here, shouting that, yes, we're close to our customers. Yes, we understand what their needs are. And we give them the tools that are required for them to do what's right for their applications, which is different from any other applications that we are serving.
Yes, Glenn.
Can we talk about AI for a moment?
Sure. Glenn, we only have 10 minutes left. So.
Because I think it feeds into this. I mean, artificial intelligence is going to have a profound effect on our industry. I think a profound effect on our industry more than some of our subtractive or traditional manufacturing techniques because of the digital nature of our business. You said that earlier. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in San Jose for 3 days to attend the NVIDIA GTC, their GPU technology conference, more from curiosity than anything else. But I learned a lot. And I listened to Jensen Huang, the CEO, on stage at the San Jose Sharks hockey arena, 17,500 people, a few more than there are in this room listening to me. He spoke for 2 hours on the subject, and some of the things that he was saying and some of the things that I observed afterwards, I mean, were so profound, and will have such an enormous impact on what we do and how we conduct our business. It goes in 3 stages. I don't think I'm an expert by any means, but generative AI, we all see the consequences of that now. We've all got our chat GPTs, we've all understand the large language models, and that's having a tremendous impact on the way that we code and the way that we can accelerate our R&D. And I think that also gives access to our customers, or gives our customers better access. Agentic AI will also have an enormous impact. This is where, we all hate those robocalls. You call in the hotline and it's anything but hot and you're talking to an automated voice. Well, in future, you'll be talking to an artificial intelligence that will have more access to information than the most skilled of our application engineers or our service technicians, which will then give our application engineers and our service technicians the scope to do more sophisticated things and help our customers even further. And then and this is a few years away, but it goes generative, agentic, and then physical AI. And I can imagine a future where all of the things that we're describing that are now adjunct or separate to the additive manufacturing process are actually contained within the system. So your service engineer will be embedded in your system. Your access to applications resources, your access to all the expertise that is available to everybody in the world will be available through these amazing interconnectivity. And if I came away with one thing that would summarize that experience, and it's maybe a bit profound, but I truly believe that those organizations that master AI will master those organizations that don't.
I'm very excited about AI, but I'll be honest, maybe it's controversial. I don't know if that hope is like what the industry needs. We talked before about just better execution, and when you mentioned the AI, answering the phone, I think we can just do better right now. At Formlabs today, actually, we're relaunching our phone numbers because we did mystery shopping and we got feedback from customers that said, hey, it's too hard to get you guys on the phone. We went through and said, we've published lots of phone numbers over time. We need to consolidate, simplify, and make it very easy to talk to a real human who has lots of expertise about additive. And so we're relaunching that today to deliver a better customer experience. Like I said before, I mystery shop lots of people across the industry. We have people in the industry who don't have a phone number to call. And so I would just encourage us to work on the basics right now. If we have an AI answering the phone and they do a great job in the future, I think that's great. But I think we should publish our phone numbers and make it easy to get in touch today.
Now, I think we can do both, kind of compromising between both statements here, because I think the potential is huge. Glynn, I agree with you. But I also absolutely agree with Nick saying, let's work on the basics. If you really want to leverage the power of AI, it all starts with data. And back to my earlier point, it's not data just of one part on the step in the process or one piece of equipment. It's the collective data throughout the end-to-end workflows that our customers are going through. But today, if you look at what we have in place and how much intercompatibility and interconnectivity in terms of exchanging the data we offer to our customers, not that much. So let's put that basic in place, create that ecosystem that allows that data to be captured and be used, data throughout the process. And yes, I'm biased because yes, I'm the only software provider, sitting here on stage. But that's the basics that we need to have first before we can start dreaming. So let's start doing that.
Yoav, last word.
Yeah. By the way, we're also providing software.
True.
And we are.
For now.
we have, every year we have a customer advisory board, industrial customer advisory board, 14 of the leaders, the AM leaders in the large corporations. I met this morning Andy from Northrop Grumman, but we have Lockheed Martin there, and Toyota, and GM, and Airbus, and Boeing. And we had a whole session on AI. So, okay, we need to listen to the customers. And at the end, it comes back to what we started the discussion here. It's about adoption, how we help our customer to adopt new technology. They don't want bells and whistles. They want part properties, accuracy, and so on. They want reliability. They want lower TCO, and they want enablement, because their engineer doesn't know what to do with additive. This is it, not more. And then they come to us and ask us how AI can help us with each one of those. And just as an example from Stratasys, for reliability, we are working on predictive maintenance. We have the data from the machines. It's clear that the AI can handle the data from there. For accuracy, as part of the part properties, we launched a system that takes the data and correct the toolpath, for example, or correct the print process to have better accuracy. This is AI. It works. We can improve the accuracy by 40 to 60%. It's amazing. So we need to keep our focus on adoption, not hypes, on adoption. If all of us will do it, focus and collaborate, we'll be there.
Excellent. On those wonderful remarks, I think we will close. Now, don't get up and run. We've got one more speaker for a minute, minute and a half after we exit the stage, so don't just bolt for the doors. But with this, an excellent conversation. I had it easy just sitting here listening and learning. Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for our four panelists and the wonderful insights they shared.
Thank you.